This is the one that shocked me the most. I don't agree with what people are saying on this. I can't believe people said this. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going through the skills that you need to work in the publishing industry. So if you're a publishing hopeful and you want to brush up on those transferable skills, these are the ones that me and other publishing professionals have said that you need. So I put out a survey to about 50 other publishing professionals that kindly answered it and told me which skills that you need to have. So I listed a range of skills and got them to tick all the ones that they think are the most important. So there was no limit on like this is the most important one you have to have or anything. Some were definitely more popular than others. Some of them I completely agree on. There's a couple that I was quite surprised about as well, but I'm going to share with you those results today. So I kind of completely agree with the winner here. The most important skill that you needed to have, according to my survey, was communication. When you work in publishing, you often deal with all of the different departments, especially, for example, if you were to work in the editorial department, you work with the authors, so you have to communicate well with them, making sure that you're caring for them really well. You have to contact the production departments, the rights departments, sales, marketing, publicity, everything. And so being able to communicate effectively via email, in meetings, anything like that is so crucial for the publishing industry. And as well, because you're working with internal and external stakeholders. So me, for example, I contact printers a lot, for example. So being able to communicate with them effectively is essentially really, really important to work in publishing. The next one was organisation. I 100% agree with this, especially in my role and as an entry-level role. I think it's really important to be able to stay organised, be really on top of your workload, know how to navigate like spreadsheets, like maintaining organisation of those, doing any to-do lists, managing your calendar, anything like that I think is really important. Again, I think just the fact that you rely on other people a lot of the time when you're working through the publishing process, if you're waiting on someone else or if they're waiting on you, it's really important that you stay organised on top of that. The next one is working as a team, and then just quite similar to that in the results was working independently. And I do agree with that as well, because everyone is within a team in publishing, no matter what publishing house you work at. But you do also have to manage your own workload, especially in my role, for example, as a production assistant. I have my own workload to deal with, but it's within a team. So I have to stay organised, etc., manage my own workload and be able to just, kind of like manage my own time. But at the same time, it's being able to work in a team. So if I've got an issue, knowing how to approach that, knowing who to ask, knowing who to contact if I have a problem, knowing how to support my team the best way that we can. As I just mentioned, time management was on there as well. I think this is really important. I'm quite surprised that this was so high. I guess because the whole thing about publishing is you work to a pub date all the time, so a publication date. And with the critical path, like you have the key stages there, and if you don't hit one of those key stages, it could eventually affect the publication date. So I suppose everyone is kind of working under time pressure all the time. There's always deadlines for everything that you do. Like I mentioned, because of the fact that you work with other teams all the time, they might be waiting on you to do something. Equally, you might be waiting on someone else to do something as well. So I think, I completely agree. Time management is really important. So they're kind of like the main ones, it seems, like the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I would say if you're a publishing hopeful and you're looking to show your skills, incorporate this somewhere. I mean, it will probably say on the job description as well, which you should always be referring to. It will probably say that you have to work as a team. And I think showing examples of this will be really beneficial. So show that you can work as a team, but show how you can work independently. How has your independent work affected the team, in a positive way? Communication, how have you shown that you've communicated with someone really important or navigated something within a really tight time scale, like time schedule? I think anything like that, any examples you can give will be really beneficial, because publishers always do look for making sure that you have transferable skills. And according to my survey, these are the most common ones. So if you have examples of that, great. So then there's passion. I don't think anyone would be in publishing if we weren't passionate about it. I mean, it's not exactly the most well-paid profession. I think everyone is in publishing because they love publishing. They love books, they love journals, whatever it is that they work in. When I've kind of helped people looking at their CVs and cover letters, etc., I see a lot of the time people proving their passion. You know, have you got a Bookstagram where you do all your reviews on there? I think there's a lot of ways that you can show your passion. I mean, for me personally, I use this YouTube channel as a way to show my passion, and that I'm passionate about the industry and I'm passionate about educating other people on the industry. Yeah, passion, I think everyone probably has it. If you're looking for a job in publishing, you probably already have the passion. Again, it's just about proving it. Then there's awareness of the industry, 100%. And I think almost this one should be more important as well, because you need to know what's going on around you to be able to affect the decisions that you make today. So I think it's really important that you keep on top of that, the industry as a whole. So looking at the bookseller, going to all these events, etc. But also knowing what's happening in the whole world. So Brexit, for example, if that's going on, are you going to publish a book about Brexit because that's what everyone's talking about? Coronavirus, is there going to be loads of books? I mean, I'm sure there's going to be so many books about coronavirus. But yeah, I think just a general knowledge of the industry as a whole and how other departments work will really, really benefit you. Then there's creativity. I'm quite surprised that this is quite high, because I do think, yeah, it is a creative industry. It's kind of like an arts industry. But I don't think all roles in publishing require creative skills. Finance is still like a large part of publishing, but if you're, say, like a royalties specialist, you don't really need to be creative for that, in my opinion. I mean, maybe a royalty specialist will now come at me and say, yes, you absolutely need to be creative to be in my role. But I think the more creative departments are probably like marketing, publicity, when you're organising campaigns, etc. Maybe cover designers, because they have to use, obviously, their creative skills to create the covers. Email etiquette, I think this is one that is really important, and I think you can brush this up in any job that you have beforehand. You don't necessarily have to have direct publishing experience to get this skill nailed. Knowing how to contact people, put in things like your signature, make sure that's really clear, making sure that you give, like, if you need to give a deadline, make sure that's really clear, but you're being nice at the same time, especially if you're working with people like authors. Every publishing house cares so much about the authors, and you need to show that. If you're in contact with them directly, you absolutely need to show that. Problem solving, I do think this one is, I mean, it's kind of like in any job, but I think it definitely comes up in publishing a lot, where there's exceptions, or there's a particular title that's being difficult or different. There's always things that come up, especially in my role, where it doesn't kind of follow the traditional path or the traditional workflow or whatever. And I think that, yeah, being able to problem solve is really key. So if you've got any examples of that, show that on your cover letter, show that on your CV, whatever it is, how you came up with the solution, or how you as a team came up with a solution, how you solve that problem. And then sort of the other ones on there, so flexibility. I mean, I do agree with that. Learning from feedback, I think, is really, really important as well. I feel like I pride myself on that. If someone gives me a piece of feedback, I do take that into account. Resilience, professionalism, writing. I mean, it's quite ironic that you work in the publishing industry and everyone's put writing, I mean, in the lower third of how important it is. Obviously, it probably depends on your writing skills more when you're like in an editorial department. Confidence, I completely agree, and I saw something about this on, I think it was on Twitter, about can you work in publishing if you're introverted? And absolutely you can. It's not all about being loud and being confident. There are plenty of roles where you can almost take a back seat and you can be behind a screen. You don't necessarily have to be people facing. But yeah, I mean, confidence obviously does help in anything you do, especially if you're, say you're working in sales, you'll probably have to do a lot of sales pitches, a lot of presentations, talk at different meetings. So confidence is obviously useful, but I can completely understand that's more of a personal skill. Whereas, say, like time management, you can work on that quite easily, I would say, whereas confidence is quite a personal thing, and that will probably take quite a toll on you personally. So I think amazing if you do have a lot of confidence, but obviously it shows from what I say here that it's not absolutely vital. Good listener was on here as well. Presentation skills. This is the one that shocked me the most. I can't believe people said this. Using software was one of the last ones on here. If you work in publishing, tell me you don't use a piece of software every single day that you didn't use before you joined publishing. Biblio, Collection Point, Focal Point, whatever it is. You didn't know that before you joined the publishing industry. There's publishing software that is industry specific, like Biblio, and we use that all the time. I mean, you join the publishing industry and you have no idea what Biblio is, you have no idea what this ancient system is that people are using, and it's like this whole world. I just think I'm really shocked that people said that using software is not that important, because I think no matter what department you're probably going to have to use a content management system. You're probably going to have to use a system for invoices, for sharing your files, for storing your files, anything like that. So I don't agree with what people are saying on this, because I think using software is a really important skill. But having said that, if you're a publishing hopeful and you're looking to get into the publishing industry, I understand that you wouldn't have necessarily used that software before. But I think just generally to survive in the publishing industry, you need to know how to use your company software. If you can brush up on different software, even using things like Excel, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, anything like that, I think is really beneficial. So if you don't use the specific publishing industry software, brush up on the other software skills. Then there's honesty, social media. I mean, I think that's more like department specific, so you'd use that in publicity a lot, for example. Negotiation, leadership, and design is right at the bottom. Not a lot of people said you need design skills. I think people probably work with design a lot. They'll look at covers, they'll know maybe what works and what doesn't, but yeah, I suppose if you're not working in the direct design department, you won't necessarily need those skills. So I hope you found that useful. There definitely are a lot of skills that you need to have to work in publishing, but I think it is, you don't have to have a university degree to work in publishing. I am proof of that. You didn't need a university degree. So I think it does rely on transferable skills, and a lot of these you can get from other jobs, other experience that you do. So if you are looking to get into the publishing industry, just make sure you've got these skills under your belt. Make sure you've got examples to hand how you can prove that in your cover letter, in an interview, etc. I hope you did find this useful. Do let me know down in the comments below if you did find it useful, and hopefully see you in my next one. Bye.